To understand Schopenhauer's stark assertion that feminine love has a price and few men perceive it, we must first grasp the core of his pessimistic philosophy, particularly his concept of the will to live. For Schopenhauer, this will is a blind, irrational, ceaseless striving, an insatiable cosmic force that underlies all phenomena in the world, including human existence. It is not guided by reason or individual happiness, but by an unyielding impulse for self-preservation and, crucially, species perpetuation. From this perspective, what we commonly perceive as romantic love, passionate attraction, or even deep affection between individuals is, in Schopenhauer's view, a grand deception orchestrated by this very will. He argues that the intoxicating feelings of love are not for the benefit or happiness of the individuals involved, but solely to achieve the will's singular aim, to ensure the continuation of the human race. The intense longing, the feeling of destiny, the apparent spiritual connection, all are merely sophisticated illusions designed to trick individuals into engaging in the act of procreation, which is often contrary to their rational self-interest or personal peace. Schopenhauer believed that the powerful drive of sexual love is the most potent manifestation of the will to live in humans. He saw the individual as essentially a tool or a slave of this cosmic will. When two people fall in love, they are not primarily attracted to each other's conscious personality or virtues, but rather to qualities that ensure the production of the best possible individual for the next generation. This assessment is largely unconscious and driven by a biological imperative. The love felt is merely the subjective, pleasurable sensation associated with being aligned with the will's objective. The price that feminine love has, in Schopenhauer's interpretation, arises from this fundamental deception. From the female perspective, the unconscious biological imperative, driven by the will, is to secure the most advantageous partner to ensure the survival and flourishing of her offspring. This isn't a cynical, calculated move on her part. It's a deep, instinctive drive. The price she unconsciously demands from a potential mate involves attributes like resources, protection, social standing, and good genetic fitness, qualities that optimize the chances of her progeny surviving and thriving. Her love becomes, therefore, a subjective feeling that often aligns with a pragmatic, existential negotiation for the best reproductive and parental outcome. Schopenhauer argues that few men perceive this underlying mechanism because they are caught in the very deception the will has created. They interpret the powerful feelings of love as a personal, unique, and romantic bond, failing to see the broader, impersonal, and biologically driven agenda at play. They are captivated by the illusion, believing it to be a pursuit of individual happiness, when in reality they are merely serving as instruments for a greater, unconscious biological force. This blindness, Schopenhauer believed, leads to much disillusionment, as the intense love often wanes once its biological purpose, procreation, has been fulfilled, leaving individuals to face the inherent suffering of existence unmasked by illusion. For Schopenhauer, true wisdom lay in recognizing this deception and seeking liberation from the tyranny of the will. Building directly on Schopenhauer's concept of the will to live, the price he attributes to feminine love is not a conscious, calculating negotiation, but rather a profound, often unconscious imperative rooted in evolutionary and biological necessity. For Schopenhauer, this price is precisely what makes love a grand deception. Individuals feel intense personal affection while, unbeknownst to them, they are merely fulfilling a cosmic, species-level agenda. From the female perspective, this unconscious price in mate selection is inextricably linked to the primordial drive for successful reproduction and the flourishing of offspring. Across the animal kingdom, and fundamentally in humans, the female's reproductive investment is significantly higher than the male's. Pregnancy, childbirth, and lactation require immense physical resources, time, and vulnerability. Consequently, the unconscious strategy of the will to live in the female is to ensure that this substantial investment is made under the most optimal conditions possible. This translates into an unconscious assessment of a potential male partner's capacity to provide key elements, resources, security, and genetic contributions to healthy progeny. Resources refer not just to financial wealth in modern human society, but to the broader ability to gather and control necessities for survival. In an evolutionary context, this might mean hunting prowess, access to fertile land, or social standing that ensures protection and provision for the family unit. The love a woman feels, in this Schopenhauerian view, is biologically tuned to those who demonstrate a higher capacity for resource acquisition. This isn't a cynical choice, but a deep-seated instinctual pull driven by the will's imperative to secure the best possible environment for survival. Security encompasses physical protection from threats as well as social stability. A mate who can offer safety, whether from predators in a primal setting or from social upheaval in a modern one, reduces the risks associated with raising vulnerable offspring. This translates into qualities like strength, courage, reliability, and social influence. The price here is the unconscious demand for a partner who offers a stable and safe environment, crucial for the survival of the next generation. The feeling of being safe or protected in a relationship can be interpreted as the subjective experience of this unconscious biological assessment. Finally, the unconscious price includes the contribution to healthy progeny. This involves not just basic genetic compatibility, but also indicators of good health, vitality, and intelligence, qualities that are desirable to pass on. While modern humans don't consciously screen for these traits in a purely genetic sense when falling in love, Schopenhauer would argue that the intense physical attraction and feelings of connection are often triggered by subtle cues that signal genetic fitness and the potential for robust offspring. The love felt is the will's way of encouraging the combination of genes that will best serve the species' future. Schopenhauer's provocative assertion is that few men perceive this price because they are blinded by the very illusion of love that the will creates. Men, driven by their own biological imperative, often a less resource-intensive one, focusing more on opportunity for widespread procreation, fall for the subjective feeling of attraction without realizing the complex, unconscious calculus being performed by the female psyche. This price, therefore, is not a conscious demand from women, but an underlying biological strategy, a necessary condition for the female to fulfill her role as an instrument of the will to live. The perceived love is simply the mechanism through which this profound, ancient biological contract is fulfilled. While Schopenhauer starkly frames love as a biological deception, serving the will to live and its imperative for species perpetuation, Carl Jung offers a profoundly different, complementary, yet more expansive perspective. Jung would reveal that human love, though undeniably linked to biological drives, also engages far deeper, often unconscious archetypal dimensions that transcend mere physical reproduction. Central to this understanding are his concepts of the anima, the unconscious feminine aspect in men, and the animus, the unconscious masculine aspect in women. For Jung, the attraction between individuals of opposite sexes is not solely about finding a mate for procreation. It is fundamentally driven by an unconscious archetypal search for psychological wholeness. Every individual carries within their psyche an image of the contrasexual other, the anima in men and the animus in women. These archetypes are not just personal complexes, they are universal patterns of the collective unconscious, representing the totality of human experience. When a man falls in love, he is often projecting his anima onto a woman, seeing in her the qualities he unconsciously lacks or needs to integrate within himself, e.g., emotional depth, intuition, receptivity. Similarly, a woman might project her animus onto a man, seeing qualities she needs to integrate, e.g., assertiveness, rationality, action. This unconscious projection creates the powerful magnetic pull of romantic love. It gives rise to the intense feeling of destiny or soulmate connection, which Schopenhauer dismissed as mere illusion for biological ends. For Jung, however, this illusion serves a higher psychological purpose. It initiates the process of conjunctio, or psychic union. The primary drive is not just to produce offspring, but to engage in a relationship that helps both individuals integrate their own unconscious aspects, thereby moving closer to individuation, the process of becoming a complete and unified self. Jung would argue that while Schopenhauer correctly identifies a powerful biological imperative, the will to live, he misses the equally powerful psychological price that true partnership demands. This price is not about material provision or genetic fitness, but about the effort of self-integration. It involves the challenge of differentiating one's own identity from the projected image, withdrawing projections, and consciously developing the qualities represented by the anima or animus within oneself. For example, a man might unconsciously seek emotional depth from a woman embodying his anima, but the true psychological work, the price, lies in developing his own emotional depth. Many men and women, according to Jung, might not consciously perceive this deeper psychological price. They may get caught in the initial stage of projection, expecting the partner to perpetually embody the projected ideal, leading to disillusionment when the illusion inevitably fades. Schopenhauer's deception is thus for Jung a starting point for a deeper psychological journey. The romantic attraction, fueled by archetypal projections, is the initial force that brings two individuals together, creating the necessary conditions for mutual psychological development. In summary, Jung reveals that while biological drives are present, human love is also profoundly influenced by an archetypal drive for psychological union and wholeness. The anima-animus dynamics motivate individuals to seek out qualities in others that they need to integrate within themselves. This pursuit of integration and individuation represents a price far beyond Schopenhauer's biological calculation, a price of conscious effort, self-awareness, and the transformative work necessary to become a more complete human being through the relational experience. If, as Schopenhauer suggests, love, consciously or unconsciously, operates with a price linked to biological utility for the will to live, then from a Jungian perspective, this utilitarian view of love carries a significant psychological cost: the repression of deeper, more authentic aspects of love into the shadow. Carl Jung's concept of the shadow refers to the unconscious part of our personality that contains qualities, impulses, and desires that are deemed unacceptable by our conscious ego or by societal norms, and thus are repressed. Jung would reveal that reducing love primarily to a transactional or reproductive exchange leads to profound psychological complexes and inner conflict. When love is viewed, even unconsciously, as a means to an end, e.g., securing resources, ensuring progeny, or fulfilling a biological drive, the more selfless, spiritual, or genuinely intimate dimensions of human connection tend to be pushed out of conscious awareness. These repressed aspects of love, such as the desire for unconditional acceptance, deep emotional communion, shared spiritual growth, or love as an end in itself, do not simply vanish. Instead, they recede into the shadow, creating an imbalance in the psyche. This repression affects both men and women, though its manifestations might differ. For men, if they predominantly perceive feminine love as having a price, i.e., contingent on providing resources or status, they might unconsciously neglect their own deeper emotional needs or capacities for vulnerability and genuine intimacy. Their inner longing for a soulful connection, for instance, might be repressed because it doesn't fit the transactional model. This can lead to complexes around their self-worth being tied solely to external provision, or to feelings of emptiness and disillusionment even when material needs are met, as the deeper parts of their anima, their feminine soul, remain unintegrated. They might fail to truly perceive the woman's deeper psychological yearning beyond the material. For women, if they internalize the idea that their love or desirability is always tied to a price related to their reproductive or nurturing utility, they might repress their desires for autonomy, intellectual partnership, or non-procreative expressions of love. This can lead to complexes centered around feeling valued only for their utility, or to self-sacrificing patterns that leave their personal needs unfulfilled. They might suppress their own desire for transcendent connection or mutual psychological growth, leading to inner conflict and a sense of being perpetually undervalued for their holistic self. The frustration or anger arising from this repression would then reside in their shadow. Jung would highlight that these complexes, born from the repression of authentic love, manifest as unconscious drives and projections. People might find themselves repeatedly drawn to relationships that mirror this transactional dynamic, or they might unconsciously sabotage relationships that offer deeper connection because they are unfamiliar or feel unsafe outside the established price model. The emotional and psychological suffering that results from these complexes is the true, unacknowledged price of reducing love to a purely utilitarian function of the will to live. In summary, Schopenhauer's assertion about the price of feminine love, while highlighting a biological truth, can be understood through Jung as a lens that can unconsciously repress the multifaceted nature of love into the shadow. This repression leads to psychological imbalances and complexes, preventing both men and women from experiencing love in its fullest, most integrated form. Jung's revelation here is that the real price is paid in psychological suffering when we fail to acknowledge and integrate the deeper, non-transactional aspects of human connection. Having delved into Schopenhauer's view of love as a biological deception with a price, and Jung's insights into the shadow of repressed love, we arrive at the profound culmination of Jungian thought, the concept of individuation. Jung would reveal that while Schopenhauer highlighted a primal, almost cynical truth about the will to live, the process of individuation offers a path to transcend this mere price and redeem love into a vehicle for profound psychological wholeness. Individuation, for Jung, is the ultimate goal of human development. It's the lifelong journey of becoming a truly unique, complete and integrated individual by reconciling and integrating all aspects of the psyche, conscious and unconscious, light and shadow, masculine and feminine. This process involves moving beyond ego-driven desires and societal conditioning to align with the deeper, guiding wisdom of the self, the regulating center of the psyche's totality. In the context of love and relationships, individuation means that while biological imperatives, the price Schopenhauer identified, might bring two people together, the true purpose and potential of a mature relationship extend far beyond mere species perpetuation. The love transforms from being solely a tool of the will to live into a conscious crucible for mutual psychological growth. The initial powerful attraction, driven by archetypal projections, Anima, Animus, serves as the spark. But the real work, the true price in a Jungian sense, is the conscious effort, self-awareness, and personal evolution required to move beyond these initial projections and engage with the partner as a unique individual while simultaneously integrating the projected qualities within oneself. Jung would argue that for both men and women, the highest form of love, often referred to as the conjunctio or the sacred marriage, is not about finding someone to complete you, but about the mutual journey towards psychological wholeness. It involves acknowledging Schopenhauer's price, the biological and unconscious pragmatic drivers, but consciously choosing to transcend them. This means recognizing the unconscious expectations placed on a partner, understanding the shadow aspects that influence desires, and taking responsibility for one's own inner development rather than demanding it from the other. The redemption of love thus involves moving beyond a purely transactional exchange to a relationship where both partners facilitate each other's individuation. The price then becomes the conscious effort to withdraw projections, recognizing that the ideal qualities seen in the partner are often archetypal projections of one's own unconscious anima or animus, and then working to integrate those qualities internally. Integrate the shadow, acknowledging the darker aspects of one's own desires and expectations in relationships, e.g., control, possessiveness, unmet childhood needs, and bringing them to conscious awareness. Develop the contrasexual self. For a man, consciously developing his anima, emotional depth, intuition. For a woman, consciously developing her animus, assertiveness, logical thinking. Embrace mutual growth, seeing the relationship not as a static destination, but as a dynamic process of shared evolution, where challenges become opportunities for deeper self-knowledge. By consciously engaging in this arduous but rewarding work, love is transformed. It ceases to be solely a deception for reproduction and becomes a profound path towards self-realization for both partners. It's about a love that contributes to psychological liberation, fostering two increasingly whole individuals who choose to walk together rather than two individuals unknowingly bound by a biological contract. And this is Jung's ultimate revelation. Love has the potential to be far more than a price. It can be the highest vehicle for becoming who we are truly meant to be. What's your take? Schopenhauer's stark view versus Jung's path to wholeness. A fascinating contrast. Which perspective resonates most with your own experience of love and relationships? Share your insights in the comments below.